Sarah sat quietly on the park bench, her eyes closed, listening to the cheerful singing of the birds in the trees above. It was a beautiful spring morning and the warm sun felt soothing on her face. But inside, Sarah's heart was heavy. The harsh, critical words of her boss from the day before still echoed in her mind. "This report is full of mistakes, Sarah. Honestly, I expect better from you. Shape up or we'll need to reevaluate your position here." Sarah had poured hours of hard work into that report, double and triple checking the numbers. But in her manager's eyes, it wasn't good enough. It was never good enough. No matter how hard Sarah tried, she always seemed to fall short in his estimation. With a sigh, Sarah opened her eyes and watched a young mother and her little girl walking hand in hand down the park path. The little girl was chattering away happily, a bright smile lighting up her face. Sarah couldn't help but smile herself at the heartwarming scene. The mother noticed Sarah and gave her a friendly nod as they passed by. "Good morning," she said cheerfully. "Isn't it a lovely day?" "Yes, it certainly is," Sarah replied, mustering up an answering smile. Such a simple interaction, but the woman's kind words and warm demeanor lifted Sarah's spirits. As she watched the pair continue on their way, Sarah found herself thinking about the incredible power words can have to encourage or criticize, to build up or tear down. Her boss's harsh critique had left her feeling discouraged and small. But just a few caring words from a stranger had brightened her day and restored a measure of her confidence. Rising from the bench, Sarah resumed her morning walk through the park, taking in the sights and sounds of nature all around her. The sunlight filtering through the trees, the scent of blooming flowers on the breeze, the happy shouts of children playing in the distance. Bit by bit, the tightness in her chest began to ease as Sarah focused on the beauty of the present moment. The birds sang their lovely melody and a gentle wind rustled the leaves overhead as if nature itself was speaking to her, offering comfort and peace. As she walked, Sarah thought about her life and relationships. Were there times when she had carelessly spoken words that hurt or belittled others? Almost certainly, as much as she hated to admit it. Like everyone, Sarah was human and far from perfect. She thought about her younger sister Lisa, who struggled with depression and anxiety. Had Sarah always been as supportive and understanding as she could be? Or had she sometimes spoken impatiently or dismissively about Lisa's struggles? "I'm sorry you're having a hard time," Sarah had said to Lisa the last time they talked. "But you need to learn to deal with everyday stress better. Everyone feels down sometimes. You just have to push through it." Cringing internally, Sarah realized how condescending and unhelpful her words must have sounded. No wonder Lisa had gotten upset and ended the call abruptly. Some supportive big sister she was. Sarah resolved to call Lisa that very evening and try again. This time, she would listen more than she talked. She would validate Lisa's feelings and perspective. She would speak to her sister with empathy, gentleness, and love. The uplifting power of caring words, when contrasted against the damage caused by harsh ones, was a lesson Sarah seemed to keep learning again and again in different ways. Like everyone, she was a work in progress. Feeling more hopeful and resolute, Sarah continued following the winding park path, enjoying the rest of her walk. Moments of peace and beauty like this were important, she reflected. They restored the soul and helped put things in perspective. An hour later, Sarah was back home getting ready to leave for work. As she gathered up her purse and travel mug of coffee, she caught sight of the framed quote on the wall by her front door. It had been a gift from her grandmother. "Words are free. It's how you use them that may cost you." The simple phrase was a reminder Sarah tried to carry with her each day. A reminder to choose her words thoughtfully, to err on the side of kindness, to use her words to make a positive difference however she could. At work that morning, the first thing Sarah did was stop by her coworker Julia's desk. Julia was a single mom of 2 young kids who was always juggling a million responsibilities. Sarah often noticed how tired and frazzled Julia seemed, although she rarely complained. "Hey Julia, that was a fantastic presentation you gave in the meeting last week," Sarah said. "You explained that complex issue in such a clear, relatable way. It's obvious how hard you work and how much you care." I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you and everything you do for our team." Julia looked surprised for a moment, then broke into a huge smile. "Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot to me. Honestly, I was nervous about that presentation, so I'm glad it went over well. I really appreciate your kind words." The two women chatted a bit more before Sarah continued on to her own desk, smiling to herself. She could tell her sincere praise had given Julia a much-needed boost, and that felt good. Julia was awesome and deserved to know it. Later that morning in a meeting, Sarah listened attentively as her team members gave updates on their projects. Even when Steve, who she sometimes found irritating, started talking in circles as he was prone to do, Sarah resisted the urge to interrupt or look annoyed. When Steve finally finished, Sarah smiled at him and said, "Thanks for that detailed update. Steve, it sounds like you've put a lot of thought into the next phase of your project. Let me know if there are ways I can support you moving forward." Steve looked pleasantly surprised and thanked Sarah, seeming to stand a little taller as he sat back down. Sarah hid a small smile. It was amazing how a few simple words of appreciation could visibly inflate someone. That evening, true to her private vow, Sarah called up her sister Lisa. The two chatted about their days and the latest family news. Then, choosing her words carefully, Sarah broached the reason for her call. "Hey Lisa, I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation. I don't think I did a very good job of hearing you out or considering how you felt. I'm really sorry about that. I know I can't fully understand what you're going through, but I want you to know I'm always here if you need to talk. I love you and I'm proud of you. You're a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Lisa said softly, her voice thick with emotion, "Thank you, Sarah. You have no idea how much it means to hear you say that. I love you too, and I may just take you up on that offer to talk more. Especially if you promise to keep saying nice things to me," she added teasingly. Sarah laughed. "It's a deal, though I meant every word." By the time Sarah hung up, she was smiling, feeling closer to Lisa than she had in a long time. What was it her grandmother used to say? "Siblings are the friends God chose for us." In that moment, Sarah felt very lucky indeed in the sister department. As she got ready for bed that night, Sarah reflected on the day and how she tried to be more intentional with her words. It wasn't always easy, especially when she felt stressed or annoyed or simply wanted to make a sarcastic quip. But more than ever, Sarah was coming to appreciate just how powerful words could be, for good or for ill. With them, she could tear someone down or build them up, hurt feelings or offer healing, criticize flaws or praise strengths. "Death and life are in the power of the tongue," Sarah murmured thoughtfully, recalling the biblical wisdom. She knew that verse was simply speaking truth, not being literal. But it highlighted an important point. The words we speak or don't speak can have tremendous impact on ourselves, on others, on our relationships and our world. Climbing into bed, Sarah felt grateful for the reminders she'd had throughout the day about the importance of choosing her words with care. She knew she would never do it perfectly. There would still be times when she spoke without thinking, or said something hurtful even when that wasn't her intent. But if she kept trying, if she stayed mindful of the power her words could wield, then little by little, interaction by interaction, Sarah believed she would move in a positive direction. She would learn and grow and hopefully make the world just a little bit brighter. One kind, thoughtful, life-giving word at a time. As sleep stole over her, a Bible verse drifted through Sarah's mind. "Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body." Her last thought before she drifted off was to make those gracious, nourishing words her aim. Not just today, but every day. With her family, her friends, her co-workers, and the strangers she encountered. Even with herself in her own self-talk. There too, Sarah knew the words she chose mattered immensely. With a smile on her lips, Sarah slipped into peaceful slumber, feeling hopeful and inspired. Tomorrow was a new day, brimming with opportunities to wield the power of words for good. She intended to make the most of each and every one.